I love bags. I really do. Honestly, I'm a very simple dresser. Give me a plain t-shirt. Give me jeans. Maybe some small jewelry and then a really good handbag. I'm happy. Because there's just something about a good bag that changes everything. You know, you can wear the simplest, like the most basic outfit in the world, and then somehow the bag just pulls everything together. So when people spend $200, $500, maybe even $1,000 on bags, honestly, I understand it. I get it. But then there's a level of luxury that completely breaks all the rules. Like Hermès. Oof, you guys. The first time I heard the price of a Birkin bag, I was genuinely shook. Because what do you mean that a bag is $20,000, $50,000, sometimes even $100,000 depending on the leather? I was like, excuse you? For a bag? But you know what? I'm not mad at it. I mean, if you can afford it, why not? Maybe one day when we become billionaires, you know, I'll also carry one dramatically into a restaurant somewhere. Who knows? But let me tell you something. If I spend that kind of money on a bag and somebody tells me it's fake, oh my god. I'm already emotional spending $200 on a bag. Now, imagine spending enough money to buy a car on a bag and then finding out that the thing is fake. And not fake because you bought it from one random roadside seller somewhere. I'm talking about a bag that looks completely real. Like the leather feels right, the stitching looks right, even the hardware matches. Everything looks exactly the way it's supposed to. And then one day you confidently carry your bag into Hermès for cleaning or repair or something like that. And then after a while, somebody comes out from the back and is looking uncomfortable, and then they're like, "We're so sorry, ma'am, but we can't return your bag to you." What? What do you mean you can't return my bag to me? Because it's fake. Fake? Yeah. Imagine hearing that after spending maybe $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on a bag. Seriously. I think I'll just pass out right there. I mean, and then the store will need 100k to resuscitate me. But the reason I'm actually telling you this nightmare scenario is because it actually happened in real life. A few years ago, a massive scandal absolutely shook the luxury world when people found out that there was a secret network making perfect unauthorized bags. Honestly, when I first heard this story, I could not believe it. Because according to investigators, some of the people that were connected to this operation allegedly understood the Hermès system from the inside. They knew how these bags were made, what details were important, and how to create something that was so convincing that even experts struggle to tell the difference sometimes. And honestly, that's what makes this story so disturbing for the luxury world. Because luxury is built almost entirely on perception. The idea that what you're buying is rare, it's controlled, exclusive, carefully protected. So once people realized that there were ghost bags moving around the market connected to insiders themselves, it made people wonder, if the bag looks perfect, feels perfect, and was possibly made by people trained inside the same luxury system, then why is it fake? What makes a real bag real? And truthfully, once I started reading deeper into this case, I actually could not stop, because I'm like, Hermès of all companies? How? So I kept digging, and the more I read, the crazier the whole thing became. Once I started learning how these bags are actually made, that's when I understood why these scandals scared the luxury world so badly. So did any of you watch Superman growing up? Not the newer Superman movies, I mean the older ones. I know some of you are probably too young to really know him properly, but there was an actor named Christopher Reeve who played Superman back in the late 1970s and 1980s. Even today, people still talk about him like he was one of the best Superman actors ever. Like every time people rank Superman actors, his name always comes up, and from the clips and scenes I've seen of him, honestly, he was good. Like He really had that I am a superhero look, if you know what I mean. Anyways, do you guys know that he actually had a horse riding accident in real life? The accident happened in 1995 during an equestrian competition. Apparently, the horse suddenly stopped right before he jumped, throwing him forward. He landed head first and he became paralyzed afterwards. It's truly, truly sad. Every time I hear stories like that, it kind of makes me feel like people really romanticize horses now. Because today, horses are mostly connected to sports, luxury hobbies, polo matches, that whole world, you know. But back then, horses were transportation. People traveled with them, walked with them, moved goods with them, fought wars with them. People trusted their entire lives to horses every single day. Some of you watching this might not even fully know what a saddle is, but a saddle is basically the seat attached to the horse so that the rider can sit properly and control the horse safely. So you can just imagine trying to sit directly on top of a running horse with absolutely nothing supporting your body. You probably just fly off almost immediately. So now imagine the 1800s. People are riding long distances constantly. Sometimes it could be through rough roads or maybe at high speeds or even carrying heavy things. And if your saddle falls or fails while you're riding, it won't be some small embarrassing accident. You could actually genuinely get seriously injured or even die. So this is actually the world that Hermès entered into originally. Because before the handbags, the luxury boutiques and the celebrity obsession, Hermès started in 1837 making saddles and riding equipment for wealthy people. And when you get that part, the whole luxury image starts making a lot more sense. Because even back then, rich people were already paying huge amounts of money for quality horse equipment, the same way rich people today spend huge money on luxury cars. And you have to understand, Hermès was not just any random workshop back then. They were the absolute best of the best. If you were royalty, aristocracy, or part of the ultra wealthy class in the 1800s, you went to Hermès because their saddle stitching was the most sophisticated, indestructible work on the market. They were literally the luxury standard for elite transportation. And the reason Hermès became so respected back then was because of a stitching technique called the saddle stitch. And yes, the stitch literally got its name from horse saddles because that was originally what it was being used for. Before this story, I had never even heard of the saddle stitch in my life. I just thought that stitching was stitching, but apparently this technique is a huge deal in the luxury leather world. So most bags today are stitched by machine. So if one thread breaks, the stitching can slowly start unraveling little by little. But the saddle stitch works very differently. It's completely done by hand, using two needles crossing through the same hole from opposite directions, so that if one side breaks, the other side can still hold everything together. You can now imagine how strong something like that has to be if it originally became famous for helping protect people while riding horses. Imagine the pulling, the force, the body weight, the pressure, the constant movement. And that stitching has to survive all of that. This is another really important thing to understand. There are actually only very few people in the world who know how to do this saddle stitch properly. And most of them already work for Hermès because it takes years to learn, like actual years. Hermès spends a huge amount of time training these workers because a massive part of the company's reputation is built around this craftsmanship. And I'm not going to lie, once I started understanding how physically demanding and specialized this stitching was, the scandal started becoming even more disturbing to me. Because eventually, some of the workers inside those workshops allegedly realized something very important. That a huge part of the magic was sitting in their own hands. But okay, let's pause here. Because how do you go from making seats for horses to making the most exclusive purses on earth? So it wasn't this slow creative decision where Hermès just sat down and said, you know what, let's enter into fashion. Nothing like that happened. This was more or less panic. Imagine it's the late 1800s going into the early 1900s. Suddenly, cars start appearing everywhere. These loud metal machines start taking over the streets, and rich people, the exact wealthy clients Hermès depended on for horse saddles and riding equipments, they suddenly become obsessed with automobiles. Nobody wants to ride horses anymore. Everybody wants cars. Everybody wants railway travel. And Hermès starts realizing, wow, if horses actually stop being the main form of transportation, then our entire business can collapse with them. That must have been very terrifying for them. So what did they do? They had to adapt, and adapt fast. And honestly, the crazy thing is that the solution was already sitting right in front of them. Back in 1892, Hermès had already created this huge leather traveled bag called the uauthorized, also called the HAC. And do you know what's funny? That bag was originally designed for rich people to carry horse saddles and riding boots while traveling. So basically, it was a giant luxury travel bag for horse equipment. And honestly, this part is so interesting to me because apparently wealthy women started noticing the bag too. And they were basically looking at it like, wait, why do the men get this beautiful leather bag with all this incredible stitching and craftsmanship just to carry dirty riding boots around? Why can't we have smaller versions for everyday life? And slowly, Hermès started shrinking the size down and turning the design into handbags. So by the 1920s, they had started taking the exact same saddle making craftsmanship and applying it to luxury handbags for wealthy women. But let me tell you a very interesting fact about Hermès, because even though people knew they made beautiful handbags by then, they were not the massive pop culture icon that they are today. They had not completely taken over the world yet, until this one crazy thing happened on a flight in the 1980s. So the CEO of Hermès at the time was Jean-Louis Dumas, and he was on this flight from Paris to London. And you know how it is on a plane where you're just sitting down next to a complete stranger. They did not really know each other at all, but the lady sitting down next to him was Jane Birkin, who was this very famous British actress at the time. So you can just imagine them chilling on this flight. You know, she stands up to put her bag into the overhead locker, and by the way, Jane Birkin did not really carry a normal handbag. She always used this literal wicker basket to carry her things around. Like, honestly, I wonder how she was even managing with that. Anyway, so she was trying to put this basket into the overhead compartment, and suddenly the whole thing drops and everything inside just spills out everywhere. So of course she was so upset, like, I can't believe this. I can never find a leather bag that actually carries all my stuff. And then the CEO sitting right next to her is like, oh my God, I'm so sorry about that. So they sit down, they start talking about bags, and she starts explaining exactly what she needs. And guys, this is the most legendary part of this story. Jean-Louis Dumas reaches into the seat pocket right in front of him, pulls out one of those, paper stick bags, and right there on the plane, he starts sketching a brand new bag design for her. Well, he sketches this beautiful bag with a totally flat bottom, a secure top, and 2 strong straps. And then he sends the sketch to his workshop engineers, they produce it, and that is exactly how the legendary Birkin bag was born. Jane Birkin unfortunately passed away recently in 2023, but I always wish I could have just talked to her to just ask her how it felt knowing that the most famous exclusive bag on earth was named after her. I mean, that is something to be genuinely proud of. And when you really think about it, this history is a huge reason these bags became so expensive and so respected. Because when Hermès moved into fashion, they did not suddenly switch to cheap factory production. They kept the same craftsmanship culture. They kept the same hand stitching techniques. They kept the same long training process. They kept the same obsession with precision. To this day, one Hermès bag is usually made by one worker from beginning to end. not passed down some giant assembly line with 50 people touching it. One person. And depending on the bag, it can take somewhere around 15 to 25 hours of physically demanding hard work to complete. And honestly, once you understand that, the prices start making a lot more sense. Not normal sense though, but luxury sense. Because the exact same stitching method originally designed to survive the physical stress of horse riding is now being used on handbags. Which honestly is kind of crazy when you think about it. You're basically carrying horse saddle engineering on your arm as a fashion item. And this is where the story starts becoming really important for the scandal itself, because Hermès never stopped building its reputation around craftsmanship. The workers remained one of the most important parts of the entire brand, which means eventually some of those workers allegedly realized exactly how valuable their skills really were. So now that you know that a Birkin bag is basically a piece of horse saddle engineering turned into fashion, you're probably thinking, if I save up $20,000, I can just walk into the Hermès store, put my money on the counter and buy one, right? Oh, you sweet summer child. Absolutely not. In fact, if you try to do that, the sales associate will probably look at you very politely but tell you it's not possible. Because in economics, a Birkin is not just a normal product. It is what they call a Veblen good. And this is where rich people behavior gets so interesting, guys. Normally, when the price of something goes up, people want it less, right? Like, if the price of groceries skyrockets tomorrow, you're probably going to buy less. But a Veblen good works completely backwards. The more expensive it gets and the harder it is to actually buy, the more wealthy people want it. Because for a brand like Hermès, keeping things extremely limited is how they protect their history. If a random person could just walk in and buy it off a shelf, it would not be the ultimate symbol of high craftsmanship anymore. So how do you actually get one? Well, it's basically like trying to get an invite into a highly exclusive private club where everything is built on trust and loyalty. You don't choose a Birkin chooses you. You basically have to prove that you're serious about the brand first. When you walk into the major Hermès boutiques, especially their famous flagship store in Paris, you're not going to see bags out in the open. They are safely kept in the back to protect their rarity. To even be considered an offer, you have to play what luxury collectors call the Hermès game. And honestly, the game takes a lot of time and dedication. You have to build a genuine relationship with one specific sales associate. And you do that by showing love to the entire house, not just their famous bags. You buy their beautiful silk scarves, their fine leather shoes, their porcelain plates, their home blankets, basically just proving that you value the entire heritage of Hermès. And after you've spent months or even years showing your loyalty by collecting these beautiful items, you might get a message one day inviting you into a private room. They open a box and then they show you an exquisite bag. And whatever color or leather is inside that box, that is the piece that they curated for you. If it's not your exact color, you usually just still take it because you respect the process and how hard it is to get these pieces to be made. So it's a system that is built entirely on extreme scarcity and high heritage standards. But because Hermès protects their production so carefully, it created a massive resale market on the outside. There are so many wealthy buyers who love the brand but simply don't want to wait for years to build that relationship. So they are willing to pay double or even triple the retail price to a secondary market seller just to get their hands on a bag immediately. And this, my friends, is exactly where the so-called ghost factory operation realized that they could make a fortune. So the insiders running this scam did not need to find millions of customers, and they did not even need to build an expensive boutique. They just looked at this high demand and then they realized that there was an open window. They knew that there were wealthy buyers out there who respected the craftsmanship, had the money, but were simply too impatient to wait for the official boutique invitation. From the buyer's perspective, when these insiders secretly approached them offering a beautiful, technically perfect bag without the long wait, it felt like an incredible shortcut to owning a masterpiece. But to make a bag that could actually match the legendary standards of Hermès, these workers could not just rely on their training. They needed the exact, authentic materials. And this is where the story takes a very deep turn, because investigators allege that these employees started looking right inside official workshops to gather their supplies. I know that when most people try to picture a massive heist, what they usually have in mind is masked bank robbers breaking into a vault in the middle of the night or pulling off some kind of big dramatic crime. But honestly, guys, this crime did not look anything like that. It happened so quietly and so slowly that nobody even noticed it for a very long time. And the craziest part, it was entirely an inside job. According to the police, the whole thing was run by a tiny group of about 10 people, but these were not just random criminals off the street. A few of them were actually master workers who spent years inside the official Hermès workshops. They were the top tier experts who knew everything about how these bags were made, and they also knew exactly where the company's tracking system had a few, tiny blind spots. Because they truly understood the high standard of the brand, they knew that they could not just use cheap materials from a regular market if they wanted to make a perfect bag. They needed the real deal. And one of the hardest things to get right is the metal hardware. We're talking about the custom locks, the clasps, the zippers, and those tiny metal feet on the bottom of the bag. So Hermès uses incredibly high quality metal that is usually plated in real gold or palladium, and the company tracks every single piece very carefully. But investigators say that these insider workers use their employee access to quietly slip these authentic metal parts and official tools right into their pockets and then walk them out the back door over time. Honestly, when I first heard about this, I was expecting a classic underground hustle. Like, you picture people hiding out in the dark, sketchy alleys, working in cold basements and, constantly running from the law just to survive. But this real life story is 10 times crazier than that, because these workers were not just hiding in dark alleys at all. They were renting out beautiful, nice apartments across Paris. They were normal, highly respected professionals working in comfortable, clean rooms. Once they had the real metal pieces, they went to the exact same top-tier leather suppliers in Italy to buy beautiful, expensive crocodile skins. Then, investigators uncovered one of the most interesting details of the whole case, which was a special internal employee benefit called Bono Personnel. This is a program where Hermès lets their hard-working staff make one personal bag for themselves as a reward for their craftsmanship. But according to the police, the workers allegedly used this beautiful tradition as a perfect cover story. So if anyone caught them with their luxury leather or official tools outside the main workshop, they would just say that they were working on their official personal handbag. Instead, they were taking everything to those private apartments to assemble unauthorized ghost bags. Because these identical trained hands were using the exact same tools and hand stitching methods on real luxury leather, the final bags looked completely identical to the ones inside the boutique. They didn't even need to find thousands of customers because the global demand was already massive, and they had a line of wealthy buyers from Hong Kong to Russia waiting with cash in hand. But okay, if this entire operation was happening so quietly with all these wealthy buyers, how on earth did they actually get caught? Honestly, guys, the way the police found out about this is a total accident. It wasn't this massive undercover luxury investigation at all. Back in 2011, the French police were actually just wiretapping the phone of a completely different guy who was suspected of selling stolen bags to buyers in Asia. So they thought that he was just this small-time criminal, but while the police were listening to his phone calls, they suddenly heard him talking to this secret network of suppliers. And when the investigators started following the money trail to see who these suppliers were, they were completely shocked. They realized that these were not hardened street criminals. They were regular, everyday Hermès employees. On paper, these people were making normal, modest artisan salaries. But when the police started looking at their actual lifestyle, it did not match up at all. These regular workers were suddenly buying luxury real estate, investing in expensive property, and living like millionaires. Honestly, just imagine working at a place like Burger King. You and your colleague go out for your lunch break together, you buy your little $1 coffee and you're just chatting about taking life one step at a time and trying to get by. Meanwhile, you have absolutely no idea that your colleague secretly owns a massive luxury mansion in the Bahamas. That is exactly what was happening here. It did not make any sense to the police, so they kept digging. And when the workers were finally caught and questioned about what they did, their excuse was basically about money. They told investigators that they felt like Hermès was making billions and billions of dollars of their hard manual labor, while paying them normal basic wages. In their minds, they felt like they were doing the hardest part of the work, so they decided to just cut out the middleman and pay themselves what they thought that they were truly worth. They kept running the operation anyway, until the police finally gathered enough evidence, launched a massive raid on those nice apartments and dragged all 10 of them straight to court. And guys, once they finally got into that courtroom, the actual scale of what these 10 people did completely blew everybody away. The prosecution stood up and revealed that this secret network had built around 148 flawless, unauthorized bags. And from those bags alone, they pocketed over 4 million euros in pure profits. That's like $4.5 million in cash, just sitting in private apartments. Now guys, this is where the story gets really interesting because of how these people and their lawyers behave. So you know how it is in court, where someone is caught completely red-handed with that much money. The lawyer has to find any and every way to impress the judge and try to help them lower their prison sentence, no matter how bad the charges are. So the defense lawyers came up with this really smart argument to try and help them. They looked right at the judge and basically argued that these bags were not actually fake. Seriously, that's what they came up with. Honestly, it's just like imagining a chef at a 3-star restaurant, right? Who has this very known and most sought after recipe that all customers love. And he makes it every single night. So that same chef goes home on a Sunday when the restaurant is closed, and then he decides to buy the same meat from the same butcher that they buy from, and he uses the exact seasoning that he was cooking with, and he cooks it very well in his own kitchen and serves it. Will you say that the steak is a fake? Exactly. So it's the same thing that these guys were trying to do. They wanted the judge to look at these bags as real, authentic items that were just made outside the factory, instead of looking at them like ordinary counterfeit products. And the reason lawyers were trying so hard to push this specific argument is because of how strict the laws are. In the legal world, if you get convicted of running a massive, organized fake bag ring, the penalties are just crazy. You're looking at mandatory prison time and being forced to pay a whole lot of money. So the defense tried to tell the judge that this was not a counterfeit crime at all. They used this technical concept called parallel production, which basically just means making the real product but doing it on your own time without permission. They thought that if the judge believed that, then the punishment will not be as bad. But unfortunately for them, the French judges did not care about the chef example at all. The court ruled that true luxury is not just about using the exact same leather or doing the exact same hand stitching. At the end of the day, luxury is about permission and the stamp of approval from the company itself. So if the company did not tell you to make it inside their building, then it is fake, period. So the judge found them guilty, gave them prison sentences up to 3 years, and told them that they had to pay Hermès millions of dollars for the damage that they caused. But honestly, if you really think about this whole thing, I feel like it shows just how much modern luxury depends on trust, permission, and exclusivity. Because you could have the most perfect bag in the world, it could look perfect, feel perfect, everything about it could be perfect physically, but the luxury world will still decide whether it's real based on whether the brand approves it or not. So I'm glad you stuck around till the end. Let me know in the comments if you carry one of those secret bags, and I'll see you in the next episode.